All right, so what's wrong with conservatism? Here's the deal. Conservatives are not materialists, which means they don't make judgments and do like analysis of real world conditions in most cases. I mean, of course they like understand how much food they have in the pantry or whatever. But their political lives are not like tied to material reality. So what you have is like um, the result is that they're easily led around by things that don't have a material impact, issues that don't have a material impact on their lives. So um, such a or even like have where their position the material impact of their position would be detrimental. So abortion is a good example of that, where it's their position is just a sort of knee jerk reaction, and materially, what the effect that has on society when we have abortion restrictions and bans and policing what uh, you know how and why women can have miscarriage or abortions or whatever. um, then it's not difficult to find statistically, where like that those kinds of policies increase infant mortality rate. They increase the number of dangerous illegal abortions. It leads to more pain and suffering and death for women and children. So, I mean, the material reality is that abortion, legalizing abortion, helps mitigate these issues, which is why progressives embrace um, the pro-choice position. Um, and there's countless other examples of this. The sort of woke culture war, anti-trans stuff. Trans people are a very tiny percentage of the population. So even if what they said was true about them, like a grooming, being this grooming force, um, there just aren't enough of them for it to matter. Yeah, but that's of course not true, and um, then they're ignoring the material reality of the actual groomers in churches, in people in positions of power who abuse their power because they avoid criticism. They're above reproach, um, usually to uh, Republican types. Um, and that's classically faith leaders have been in that bucket, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, so there's that, just the denial of material reality. That's one reason why conservatism is just wrong about everything. Another reason is that, and a related reason is that it's just emotional. Like their decision making is emotional. Their political positions are emotional, and your emotions are, funnily enough, they're largely controlled by your body's gut. Um, so that's directly tied. Big surprise um, to sort of like fear responses and hunger responses and everything really really associated with self-preservation. Okay, and so this is not the higher brain working. I mean, you have a little brain in your gut that dictates to a large extent dictates your basic mood, and also affects just all kinds of decision making in all ways, you know. So this is like, so imagine if your political opinion is affected by, like, having a tummy ache or whatever, which it is, and it does. That does affect people, you know. So, uh, and then you might have a population of people also who are like sort of famously and proudly bad, have famously and proudly have just like a bad diet, of like a lot of red meat and stuff that inflames you and makes your body really upset. You know, that might be a part of it. Who knows? But it's not surprising. These are gut-driven motivations. And why does that matter? Because you can't make decisions for other people based on how you feel, based on how your like inner environment is. You have to make decisions based on logic, right? And then thirdly, with conservatism, you have this desire to go back to the times of yore, or of course, just keep things the way they are, maintain the status quo. Um, and we should understand too, it's like, I'm not talking about Republicans versus Democrats. The Democratic Party is conservative as well. They're just more status quo. Um, Republicans, of course, want to wind the clock back further, generally speaking. But we live in a politically conservative country. But so there's this desire to like turn back the clock to when things were good. But that understanding is always comes from a misunderstanding of the way things have always been, and also a misunderstanding of the current moment. Like, such as the family structure, this much celebrated nuclear family structure, which is a relatively recent invention in human history. Uh, Most of human history was like you might have heard, the village raises the children, and people living in multi-generational households. This is still the norm for a lot of groups of people. It makes a lot of sense. It's less wasteful. It shoulders financial burdens and other burdens on a larger group of people than a small group, which is more sustainable and less risky. It's just better in all ways. Aside from the fact that we're just social animals, so like we need social interaction beyond what a small nuclear family can offer. So, the notion that this is just the classical way that humanity did it, it's just wrong. And conservatism is full of these just misunderstandings. Again, as in, like abortion, just not understanding how reproduction works. Um, and and the thing is, why it's always wrong is because it's out of line with how the universe works. The universe doesn't work like this. The universe doesn't stay the same. The universe is constantly changing. It's born of cycles of change. And this little bubble that we live in that is relatively stable has all these churning systems that are like going on in their own miniature cycles, that themselves change over time. They evolve over time. Everything changes. So to be conservative, you just don't live in this universe.